Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sunbelt Hoops with Matt and Nate podcast. James Madison wins the conference championship and they're going to the NCAA tournament. Nate, we just spent more than a week together and now let's delve into this thing and take a look at what the Dukes were able to do this year and what they might be doing in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it was a special week for JMU. It was a special week for the whole Sun Belt Conference. But they have a very valid and very representative champion in the Dukes with Mark Byington.
No doubt. We had some exciting games. So coming up here on the podcast, we're going to talk to James Madison star and Sunbelt newcomer of the year, TJ Bickerstaff. We'll take a deep dive into the Dukes season, the tournament run they had, and now look ahead to where they're projected in the NCAA tournament. We'll also look at the tournament outside of what the Dukes were able to do, and we'll name our surprises of the tournament. We'll also have our unsung heroes of the tournament, a little bit of a different twist on the all-tournament team, and also two new coaches now in the Sun Belt already.
Yep.
And we'll talk about the new additions to the conference. So, Nate, you ready to tip off?
Let's do this.
All right, so here we go. The James Madison Dukes will be holding a viewing party at the Atlantic Union Bank Center on Sunday night. They're going to find out on the CBS selection show, just like everybody else in the country, what seed they're going to be, where they're going to be playing, who they're going to be playing. I tell you what, this is one of the great events in college basketball, in the sports world, and it's not even a game. It's just an event. The selection party, people are hanging on their seats. Those who know they're in, like James Madison, they know they're in because they won the tournament championship. But where are they going to be playing? Who are they going to be playing? Those who don't know they're in, those at-large teams are hanging on, to the edge of their seats to find out if their dream of pursuing a national championship will continue. So we'll talk about that. Of course, James Madison was a 91-71 win over Arkansas State in the Sun Belt final. Emphatic win. I mean, they left no doubt. We'll talk about that. And also, James Madison, it's their 6th NCAA D1 appearance and their 8th NCAA tournament overall, and 31-3. So before we delve into the tournament and also where they might be going, let's just look back at what they were able to do. One of the best all-time seasons ever in Sun Belt history as they went 31-3.
Well, they started off with a bang. They go to Michigan State and play Coach Izzo in his building, and they win. And I'm sure Coach Byington thought he had a good team, but to go in there and win in an environment like that just put icing on the cake before you even bake the cake. It was a great start for the season. The kids got fired up, and they just kept going on a roll ever since then.
Yeah, I think maybe some people thought in that tournament because they opened against 10th seed Marshall and shut down the Thundering Herd after Kerfman and Voiles had gone for 30 apiece against Georgia State in the second round. That was their quarterfinal win. Not a whole lot of drama. Marshall was able to push it to about 10 in that second half and got no closer. Texas State, of course, continues to be the Cinderella story. We'll talk about those guys a little bit later on. Faced him in the semifinals. But that's the 11 seed. So you get to the finals. And at this point, all they've done is played the 10 and the 11, not to take anything away from them, but from a seeding standpoint, they haven't played any of the high seed teams, and they faced Arkansas State, a team that was coming off a buzzer-beating upset victory, if you will, over App State, and they just obliterated Arkansas State, 91-71. Noah Friedel was the tournament MVP. He had 12 in that game after scoring 28 against the Bobcats. James Madison's first 90-point tournament game since the 1995 tournament, their conference tournament back then. They shot 62.5%, 11 of 19 on threes, and more importantly, they held Arkansas State, Nate, to 7 for 25 on their threes.
Yeah, Arkansas State has made a living all season by making threes. And we talked about it when we were doing the Texas State game, that JMU had not had a whole bunch of close games all year. And that was a close game. I mean, they had to fight like crazy to beat Texas State. So it might have gotten them a bit more focused. TJ Johnson's team was unbelievable in the whole tournament. But JMU got them. And then when they got to the finals, and I watched the post-game presser, Coach Byington said in the film session before that final game, I looked at the guy's eyes when we were looking at film. He said everybody was super hyper-focused. he didn't know if they were going to win, but he knew they were going to play very well. They were just ready to go, and it was perfect timing. And they beat a pretty good Arkansas State team by taking away what Arkansas State does well, and JMU did everything else well.
And how can we forget the career performance by Xavier Brown, who scored 21 points all in the first half, finished with his first career double-double, 21 points, 10 rebounds. He was 5 of 6 on his threes. Sun Belt Player of the Year, Terrence Edwards, finished with 19. Jalen Carey even had, I thought he had a big role in this thing as well. He was strong inside and scored 13 points.
And Terrence Edwards didn't do a lot in the first half. But Coach Byington said again in the post-game thing, he's going to come through, and he did. The other thing they talked about was Brown's unbelievable defense, that the other players were amazed by how he was getting in everybody's face. And if you can take away what Arkansas State wants to do, shoot the threes or drive the ball, they have to go to a style of play they're not used to and they're not prepared for. And that's exactly what the Dukes did against them.
All right, NCAA tournament, and we'll find out on Sunday night. ESPN, and we're just going to go with the ESPN projection. Nobody knows for sure, but that's half the fun of it anyway. All these projections are meant to fuel exactly what we're doing right now, talking about it. You know, the buildup of anticipation to talk about it. ESPN has JMU projected as an 11 seed, opening against number 6 seed Washington State in the Midwest Regional, and the Dukes would play that opening weekend in Omaha. The winner of that game in the second round would face the winner of the 3 seed Iowa State versus 14 seed Oklahoma. Not Oklahoma, but Oakland game. The Grizzlies, I think they are. Are they? Oakland?
Right. Yeah, they are.
Oakland, yeah. And Marquette's the 2 seed in that regional. That would be a potential Sweet 16. Number 1 seed is Purdue. That would be potential Elite 8. You also have Florida, Michigan State, Charleston, Auburn, FAU, of course, got to the Final Four last year, projected to be in the Midwest Regional as well. And, of course, that's all projection. But what do you think about that?
Interesting.
How fun would that be?
Well, it'd be very interesting. You got Charleston, who Coach Byington obviously used to coach for under Bobby Cremins, and he became the interim when Coach Cremins stepped down. You got Michigan State. We just talked about that. I've always said the NCAA has a little sense of humor when they set up these brackets, and we don't know if it's going to turn out that way. But an 11 seed is a little higher than I thought. I thought they'd be at 12, but 11's great. It's great for the Sun Belt Conference. And go take care of business. You and I talked during the tournament when we had breaks that when we thought they might win, if they get a 12 seed, 12 always upsets the 5. That's the predominant upset seed. But 11's even better, so there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, if they get the 11, again, this is the ESPN projection, but if they get the 11, I would think that they would probably be the only quote-unquote mid-major in that 11 slot. Typically what they do with the 11 is they have, the power conference teams on the low end play in that 11 seed and actually have to play on that Tuesday in Dayton as kind of a play-in game.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we're just going to see what happens. All this prognostication is exactly that till the committee comes out with it. And everybody thinks, well, the teams know it a couple days ahead of time. No, they don't. Those reactions you see from the different arenas are not staged. Those guys have no idea where they're going till CBS flashes it up on the screen. So that's the cool part about it.
All right, let's bring in James Madison star and newcomer of the year, TJ Bickerstaff. TJ, thanks a lot for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, what's this last week since you won the championship on Monday? What's it been like back in Harrisonburg this week?
It's been great. Like when we got off the bus, our supporters, they were there to congratulate us, take pictures, kids there too. So like everyone was excited. I'm just glad we could bring it back to Harrisonburg.
TJ, I've known Coach B, as you call him, Coach Byington, for a very long time. And he's a pretty serious guy, but I've never seen a smile on his face like I saw when he turned around to look to you guys on the bench when it was all said and done. That had to be special for him and you guys together.
Yeah, he was excited, man. I mean, because it's crazy that we got this done. Like for some of us, it feels like we got this done in like a year, which we did. So we gelled together really well pretty fast. So it was just like, it's a crazy accomplishment.
Yeah, it was your first year in the program. You'd started your career at Drexel, got to the NCAA
Mm,
tournament with Drexel. Then you were at Boston College, and now
yeah.
at James Madison to wind up your career. What factored into your decision to go play for the Dukes?
It was either like play pro or come back to college. So, um, like tested the waters for pro. I got some feedback and everything that I needed to hear. So, I
Grandfather
felt,
and your uncle gave you some feedback.
yeah,
Yeah.
they gave me feedback, as well as like a potential agent and things like that. So, just dealing
Sure.
with my situation, I felt like um, it would be the best bet to go to JMU. After I watched a lot of film on them too, like to see if my game would like really fit their system, and it turns out it did. So,
Obviously, TJ, since you went to the NCAA's with Drexel, you knew what pressure was about. I love what Coach Byington said and told you guys. You win the first game of the year at Michigan State, and he said there's a target on our back and it's going to be there all year. How did you
yeah,
guys deal with it? Because you dealt with it exceptionally well all year, the pressure.
honestly, I think we have good short term memory in terms of like not getting too high and not getting too low.
Yep.
Like we'll win some great games, do some great accomplishments, and then it's like, well, it's on to the next day. Let's just get ready. Just focus on this game. We always say, 1-0. We trying to go 1-0 today. That's all. That's what we preach every day. So having that
Yeah, I
mindset
mean
helps.
you didn't have many losses to forget. There were only three of them in the regular season, and of course 31-3, extraordinary record, led the country in wins. At what point was it? I guess it'd be easy for someone like Nate and I to look and say, "Oh wow, that Michigan State win to open up the season against the Spartans." That's when they knew. At what point did you know? Wow, this team's really going to be special.
I say after honestly that Kent State game, it was kind of early to know that. I can say the Michigan State game as
That
well,
was the one
but
right after, and I watched.
yeah,
Yeah, that
right
went
after.
overtime. That was crazy.
Yeah, and then like the Kent State game is like if you can come back from that without like quitting, because it was such a small margin of time. Like if you can get through that game without quitting and keep fighting and win the game, like that just lets you know that you're on a different mindset. Like you're on a different level with your mindset because I believe a lot of people probably would have like, oh, they would have said like this game's over with right now. Like there's no chance we're gonna be able to like score in this amount of time and like win this game. So, I mean, like just seeing that, like being a part of it, like you can just tell, like they're different dudes, like, and that's what I love to have on the team, honestly.
TJ, we talked about a second ago that you've done this before at Drexel, and obviously you're going to do it again starting next weekend. Have the guys asked you like, what's it like? What's it all about? Just to get a little feedback since you've done it.
Yeah, they've asked me. I always tell them it's just like I went during that COVID year, so like the fans and like how it was like a bubble. So it
Yeah.
was weird that year, but I want to see how it is like this year and experience
Well,
like
it'll be
all the fans.
different.
Yeah, I want to experience that, and then on top of that, Um, yeah, I just told him like it's a great experience. Like not a lot of people get to go to March Madness. Like it's a once in a lifetime thing. It's a very rare thing. Um, so yeah, just enjoy it, soak it up, and
Sure.
yeah, just go out there and have fun. Really, that's all I preach.
Yeah, the last time you went, this would be a little bit different situation. You got a little bit different
Yeah,
team than I mean, not taking nothing away from Drexel. You guys won
yeah,
the Colonial that year, but you played the number one seed Illinois in the
hmm
tournament. In fact, Andre Corbello, who's now at Southern Miss, was on that team. Sumnu or uh, is now with the Chicago Bulls. He was on that team. They were loaded. I mean, it was
yeah. They
one
were,
of the best
they
Illinois
were tough
teams in
that
a
year.
long time. But your team goes in there this year as you're projected to be as high as a 6 seed. I saw that in the latest
Oh
ESPN
wow,
bracketology. That'd be I'm sorry, an 11 seed, and you would be playing the 6 seed.
yeah,
Pardon me, flipped the script a little bit there, but 11 seeds extraordinary, I think as well. I
yeah,
think you're going to be a very popular pick in people's brackets that they're filling out.
for sure. We definitely are, and it's crazy. Like growing up watching this, like I remember being in high school just watching March Madness on my phone and stuff. Like, so it's definitely gonna be crazy to be a part of it and like have everyone rooting for you and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to that too.
Well, we talk about pressure. Who's the funny guy? Who's the guy that breaks that pressure during the season on this basketball team? A little behind the scenes knowledge.
Behind the scenes, I have to say, I'll say Raekwon. He's funny.
Okay.
That's his name.
That's
Yeah,
good.
he's funny.
He went last year with College of Charleston.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, he's experienced too. So that's back to back. Yeah, that's crazy.
It
That's
is
great.
crazy.
I love watching you play. In fact, on the games that Nate and I were calling, I said
Uh,
that you played with reckless abandon. I mean, man, you just
yeah,
go after that ball. I mean, I don't know if that's a term that used to be used a lot in sports about a guy who would just kind of throw his body in there, no regard for
yeah.
injury or whatever, and just go after it. But you're like a wild man. You play with reckless abandon. Would you agree with that
Yeah.
assessment?
I would agree in terms of like rebounding for sure. Like, um, I feel like that's why I'm so good at it because I just know how to like go get the ball and everything like that. But I know how to put like my body on the line and stuff like for the team in terms of like winning. Like it all applies to winning. So I picked that up over the years. It's like this is what I got to do. Like teams can't stop you. Like you getting these rebounds and stuff. Like it really hurts them. So just
Well, you
the
had four
pride.
offensive rebounds in each of the first 2 rounds, and that's just every time I'm doing a game, it's the guy that just wants it better than anybody else. I mean, you're supposed to be blocked out, but if you're the guy that just has the want to, that's what offensive rebounding is all about. Where'd that start in your career, or is that ingrained in you when you're a little kid?
I feel like that was ingrained because I feel like I was always like a great offensive rebounder. Like even in my AAU days, I was like the top offensive rebounder in the Under Armour Association. I remember that. So it's just always been natural. I used to play football too, so I
There you
just
go.
learned to go catch the ball at the highest point. Um, yeah, I feel like that applied to my basketball as well. So,
You played
but
wide
yeah, I think
receiver.
I, I
How
was
far
wide
did you
receiver.
go before you gave up football?
I think like fifth grade. I
Sure.
started in fifth grade, but I was tough though. I was tough.
I got you. Hey, how often do people meet you and you say, "Hey, I'm TJ Bickerstaff," and they say, "Man, I've heard that Bickerstaff name before." And of course, for those who don't know, your grandfather Bernie, five-time
hmm
NBA coach, coached the Lakers. He's now a senior advisor with the Cavaliers, where your uncle JB is the head coach. And man, they're putting
Uh,
together an extraordinary season in the NBA.
yeah,
So
great
wow.
one. They doing good. I'm glad he finally got his chance to just be the
Do
main
you get
head
that a
coach
lot
and
though? The Bickerstaff. Hey, I mean, I've heard that
yeah,
name before.
yeah, I get that a lot. Especially out here because we're so close to like DC. So like a lot of like used to coach the Bullets, so
Right.
everyone they was like, oh yeah, I remember Bernie. Yeah, yeah. They always mention the Bullet season. Yeah,
I remember when they were the Bullets before they were the Wizards, man, and
yeah.
they were really good. So, how much of a role have those guys played in the development of your career?
I'll say they played a big role in terms of like installing the right mindset in me, because like with them working in the NBA, like they travel all the time and like they're always in like a different state and stuff. So it's kind of hard to like let's say like get in the gym with them and stuff like that. But in terms of like mindset, how to think and like all these different things, what to look for, that knowledge is kind of like what they've implanted in me, and like they'll forever be there for me to help me with that aspect of the game.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was watching the post-game press conference when Terrence was in there, and he must have looked at his phone 5, 6 times. Did your phone blow up after that win and the championship?
Yeah, yes, it was crazy.
That's a
It's
good
just,
thing.
yeah, it's a good thing. It's just like so many people watching now. Like, it's a crazy difference.
So, you got the big watch party coming up on Sunday at the Atlantic Union Bank Center,
hmm
and there's going to be a lot of fans there. I know probably CBS is going to have their cameras there because, like I said before, you're going to be, I think, a very popular pick with a lot of people with that 31-3
hmm
record. To see how far you guys can go. How excited are you about Sunday evening and the selection show?
Man, I'm so excited. I mean, this is my last year, so I'm just ready to like experience everything. I'm just enjoying every single day, honestly, and like I'm ready for it, and I'm ready to play.
Well, best of luck in the NCAA's. We'll be watching all that selection show stuff, and just go play JMU basketball.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
man.
When we
TJ,
do that,
thanks
we
a
beat
lot for
everyone.
joining the podcast, and best of luck. It's been a pleasure watching you. like I said, I love to watch you play because you just really attack it. You play with so much energy. Take that energy into the tournament. You guys get some wins, okay?
Third, I got you. Thank you.
All right. Let's move along here. Let's look back at the Sun Belt tournament, and let's start with our surprises. Can be a team, can be a player, can be whatever we want. So, Nate, what's your surprise of the Sun Belt tournament?
I'm taking the T.J. Johnson, Terrence Johnson, Texas State Bobcats from the 11th seed getting to the semifinals. I mean, they were hurt all year. They did get healthy late in the year, but I just love to watch them play. They're never out of a game. They're never out of anything they do. And it's like, well, what are these guys going to do next? They just keep winning. I think the best thing I saw was when Coach was talking about a tough situation late in a game. And he told us when we interviewed him prior to one of the games, he said, I got down in the huddle, I pulled out my play sheet. I said, guys, he said, it's not about this. It's about competing. I'm teaching you guys how to fight in life. And this is what great basketball coaches teach players about life in basketball. And boy, did the message get across, because from the 11th seed, they go to the semifinals for the second year in a row. He'd rather not be the 11th seed, but he's my surprise team in just the effort and the total concentration his kids had to get to a place where nobody thought an 11th seed should be. And they did it.
I agree with that. I mean, he's 6-2 now, the last two tournaments as the 11th seed. His record is unheard of. I mean, who's ever heard of an 11th seed winning one game, much less win six over the course of two seasons? And I'll be excited to see, off the top of my head, I don't think they're losing anybody. I don't know that who they're losing. Because it's still such a young team. I think they're bringing back a lot of guys from, you never know today. You can't ever say with certainty because of the transfer portal. But I think, and if they can stay healthy, if Davion Sykes and Jordan Mason and all those guys that, were hurt at times during this season, if they can stay healthy from the get-go, and of course Drew Drennan could be back too as well, and Tyrell Morgan, who knows? So that adds, that's two guys that didn't even get to play for him this year. It would be interesting to see. I think they could be a lot better next year in the regular season. Remember, they were 1-8 at one point, and then ended up winning. I think they went 10-4 in their last 14 games. So I think they could be like that team, 10-4, not 1-8 from the get-go if they can be healthy. That'll be a team to watch, no doubt, coming up
for sure
next season. Now, the team that I say is the surprise team is Arkansas State. Obviously, they had an extraordinary run in the month of February. I think they ended up going 9-3 in their last 12 games. And you saw it click where they figured out this thing that, that Coach Hodgson was doing, the layups and the threes, and they learned how to run that offense. And they were so explosive. They just ran into a better team in James Madison in the final. No one's going to debate that. But I was a little bit surprised because I didn't know what to suspect. I knew that they had played well down the stretch in the regular season, but they're still kind of a new team. How would they react, after having a week off? How would they react in the Sun Belt tournament? And they blew the doors off Louisiana in the quarterfinals, the defending tournament champions, and then they beat the regular season champions on a buzzer beater with Freddie Hicks. And I think, again, off the top of my head, I think the only guy that won't be back for them, and it's a big one, is Caleb Fields. But he won't be back. The all Sun Belt point guard who averaged 6 assists per game. I think he's done with his eligibility. But Terrence Ford, who was hurt this year, will be back, and Malcolm Farrington will be back as well. So they should be bigger and better than ever next season, but they're my surprise team.
And it's year 2 under the Brian Hodgson system. And Freddie Hicks doubled everything he did in the regular season in the tournament, so he's going to be fired up to start all over again. And they got to find or get a point guard, maybe the one that was hurt last year. But the system's not going to change. It's going to get better, be more efficient, and they're going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, Freddie Hicks, man, he might be a front runner for Player of the Year right now on this day.
No doubt. Oh, no doubt. The way he played.
Yeah, I mean, if he takes what he did in the tournament into the regular season and is able to do that consistently and not be hurt. And he was a guy that was hurt too. He missed like 8 games,
Yeah, it's true.
from the end of non-conference into conference play. I mean, that's a guy that could be a front runner for Player of the Year as we sit here right
Yep.
now. All right, two other teams I want to talk about. App State. I mean, I think App State fans are obviously disappointed, and of course they would be. I mean, they won the regular season, had a historic regular season. They were right there with James Madison as the top two teams, record wise and resume wise going into the tournament. They get knocked out by Arkansas State. I don't look at, and we don't know right now, do they get an NIT? I hope they do. I hope they get an NIT. I hope they get an NIT. I hope they get home games in the home center in the
Right.
NIT. I hope that happens for them. But I don't look at their season and how it ended there in the Sun Belt, and in no way do I think they were disappointed.
Oh, no question about that. They had a great year. I mean, we talked earlier about JMU beat Michigan State. Appalachian invited, or Bruce Pearl did the favor of going there, and they beat Auburn in their building. I mean, Auburn's going to be a very high seed in this tournament. So, no, they had a great
Projected
year.
as a 4 seed.
Even better, yeah. And they played a great tournament, but the first half against Arkansas State, I just thought Arkansas State was so, we talk about their threes, was so good defensively. They took the rhythm out of Appalachian State's offense. And they just looked discombobulated. And I thought they were out of the game. They came back like crazy in the second half with Donovan Monroe. Harkham hit great buckets down the stretch. They made free throws down the stretch. One time they made 3 in a row, fouled on a 3. And then the aforementioned, we just talked about Freddie Hicks, hits shot at the buzzer and wins the basketball game when Donovan Monroe was all over him. I didn't think he could get off a decent shot. He got off a decent one and he made it. So it wasn't like they got beat bad. They just ran into a hot Freddie Hicks who made the last shot of the game and won it.
Yeah. I think Gregory's the only guy for sure that they lose. There may be some others, but off the top of my head, because remember, it's so hard now. Used to be able, you knew. Well, he's played 4 years, he's done. But now with the COVID year
No more.
and red shirts, I mean, it's anybody's guess as to who still has eligibility. But I'm pretty sure Donovan Gregory has used his up. So best of luck to him
Correct.
as he moves forward in his professional career. The other team I wanted to talk about is Georgia Southern. I think what Charlie Henry did there this year, they were winless, 0 for 13. 0 and 13 coming out of non-conference, and they ended up going, I think, the final total, 9 and 11, I think, is what they ended up being in their final 20 games, including, the tournament where they beat South Alabama in the second round and came within a whisker of upsetting App State. I think that's a team to watch. I think Charlie Henry's got the right mix. They got a system. It's not unlike what Arkansas State does because they're both Nate Oates disciples.
Yep.
Georgia Southern's a team to watch going into Charlie Henry's second season.
Well, they had a heck of a year under a new system, as we talked about, same as Arkansas State. Tenari Lane and company loved the three and make the three. Tenari Lane made it at a higher percentage than anybody in the league. And, they preached in the beginning, guys, hang with the system, hang with the system.
You mentioned Tenari Lane, that's Georgia State.
Oh, I'm sorry, wrong guy, right. You're right, Georgia Southern.
You can get yourself
But they
in trouble with this, folks.
prolific three-point shooters. They lost a ton of games early, and Coach kept telling them, just hang with the system. He told us he had all these people calling him, are you okay? Well, his team hung with the system, and they turned around and had a great end of the season to get into the tournament. And they built a heck of a foundation to keep going in the future.
No doubt about it. They were fun to watch, and what they were able to turn around there this season, I think that makes them a team to keep your eyes on going forward in the 2024-2025 season. All right, let's go to our unsung heroes of the tournament. So the caveat here on this list is you couldn't have been named to the all-tournament team, which means Noah Friedel, who was Sunbelt Tournament MVP.
Yep.
Terrence Edwards, Freddie Hicks, Caleb Fields, Jordan Mason, Donovan Gregory are all named to the all-tournament team. So can't use any of those guys. Everybody else is free game to pick. So let's start. Give me player number one on your unsung heroes list.
I'll go with, we just talked about Texas State, Brandon Love. Factor inside the whole tournament. averaged 10 during the regular season, 13 a game in the tournament. And Coach Johnson said when he plays effectively, we're really good. Well, he was pretty effective, protecting the rim, scoring around the rim, going over that right shoulder. I like Brandon Love as my first unsung hero.
I love his game. I love his game. Left-hander, man. He is so, man, he's got so many different tricks in that bag of his that he can get down there and bank those shots in. Just plays it with a great force and intensity. I like Brandon Love, but he's not on my unsung. I'd struggle with that when I thought about it. I'm starting out my unsung heroes team with Xavier Brown of James Madison. I don't know how they left this guy off the official all-tournament team. He went 21-10 in the final, career high, both, and first career double-double. He was 5 for 6 shooting the three, and he was the guy that lit the fire that James Madison, burned and built such a quick early lead in Arkansas State. In his 3 games, he scored 38 points, so that's an average of 13 a game, and he averaged only 6 a game coming in. And he was 9 for 13 shooting the three in the tournament. So I don't know how they left him off the official all-tournament team, but good for me because I get to put him on my unsung heroes all-tournament team.
He's my number 2 pick. I got him in my team as well. For all the things you said offensively, but it seems like the guys that give James Madison juice, the guys that give Appalachian juice, are guys that come in and give him great speed and great effort. And Xavier Brown does that. And defensively, he shut down whoever he was guarding. I mean, it's amazing how when you play really great defense, the offense seems to come. Well, he comes in and gives him that great effort defensively as really well, good, along with his career high in the finals, and which I think all was in the first half. But Xavier Brown is my second unsung hero. You stole mine.
Well, that's all right. We can agree. This
sure.
Is politics. We don't have to disagree on everything. We can agree on some things. All right. Coastal Carolina's Jacob Meyer on my team. I mean, dude scored 58 points in 2 games, and he's a freshman. Yeah. And he carried them to their opening victory over ULM, and they were just behind the 8 ball in the second round with no John Ogiako to fend for him underneath. But even with no John Ogiako protecting the rim and getting rebounds, he scored 22 in that game. Is that maybe I added wrong? He had 58 or 54. He had 32 and 22, so he had 54. Math's not my thing, but 54 still in 2 games. That's 27 a game in the tournament.
No, he had a heck of a tournament, and as a freshman, played more minutes for them. Ended up leading the league in scoring for freshmen. So yeah, Jacob Meyer was special. But I just talked about the speed. My third guy is going to be Xavier Brown for App State. Didn't score a ton of points, but momentum-wise, he hit the offensive glass and had a couple 3 dunk putbacks that just lit that team up and lit that bench up. And I just love his effort. I love the way he comes in off the bench. Now he became a starter late in the year, but comes in and just does his thing for his team and gives great energy to a team that was pretty good to start with.
Yeah, and in particular, put back dunk in that overtime win against Georgia Southern really probably was the dunk, the shot that sealed the victory for App State as they avoided the upset, which leads me to my third unsung hero, and that's Tyron Moore. He had 36 points, nearly single-handedly, led the Eagles to a near upset of App State in the quarterfinals, and they might have pulled it off if he'd had any gas left in the tank. And of course, Xavier Brown, as you just mentioned, had a role in that, shutting him down in that overtime period. But he had a shot at the buzzer to win, in addition to his 36. He didn't get it to go. It was a tough shot, but a good look. And, man, he was a really fun player to watch, one of the smallest guys in the league at 5'11". And he nearly carried Georgia Southern to an upset that people would have been talking about for a long time. As it is, it was still a great game, and people are talking about it right now because we're talking about it right now. But Tyron Moore is on my unsung heroes list.
Well, great minds think alike because I got him on mine as well. I looked at the box score of that game when he had the 36, and they did not win the game. He hit crucial free throws down the stretch. I think one time he got fouled and hit 3 in a row. So he kept them in the game. He kept them in a lot of games this year. And talk about sticking with the plan for Coach Henry. He did a great job, and definitely an unsung hero in my book, 100%.
All right, my other unsung hero is the other guy who scored 36 points in a game, and that was Old Dominion's Tyrone Williams. You know, that was the first game of the tournament. Monarchs were ravaged by the flu going into the game, so a lot of their guys were sick. They were shorthanded, and they still came within a tenth of a point of beating Texas State. Of course, a team that would then go on to win 3 games and get to the semifinals. And, you know, you had to feel for Old Dominion, the season they went through with everything they went through. They were put through the ringer. And for Tyrone Williams to come through with a game like that in what I believe is his final college game, again, reference back to our last comment, you never know for sure when it's the last, but I think it's his last conference game, last college game, and he played extraordinarily well. He's on my unsung heroes list.
Yeah, they went through a tough time the whole season with coach and with injuries and with guys leaving the team and stuff like that, but that's a wise choice. My last player, when you think of JMU, you think about Terrence Edwards, you think of Noah Friedel, you think of the great streak. The unsung hero, I think, is TJ Bickerstaff, because he just does all the little things to help that team win. A great offensive rebounder, great rebounder in general. And he averaged 13 and 8 for the year, but he had basically did that in the tournament. But at crucial times, he got crucial rebounds. He had 4 offensive rebounds first round they played. He had 4 offensive rebounds in the semis. And I just think he's the guy that you don't worry about or you don't think about, but he ends up beating you down the stretch. That's an unsung hero.
Like I said in our interview with him, he plays with reckless abandon. And he's got that hair, and his hair is always flying around. It adds to his persona and the aurora around him. I love watching him play. My final unsung hero was Justin Abson. Anybody who blocks 7 shots in one game gets my vote.
That's true.
And it isn't just about the blocks, because once he's blocked shots, they stop going inside because no one wants to get posterized with a block. So Justin Abson, 2 tournament games, he had 23 points, 18 rebounds, 8 block shots. And the one thing I learned in this tournament about Justin Abson that maybe I didn't have as much appreciation for is he is a good passer as a big man, which is essential in today's game because so much of the offense is throw it into the post, kick out for a 3. But most of his
and a willing passer.
Most of his assists were from the high post to the low post.
Yep. A very willing passer as well. And we talked about it during the app game. When he blocks shots, he doesn't knock them in the 4th row. He keeps them in play. And they get live ball turnovers, and the Mountaineers take off with it. That's a skill. It's a great skill to block shots at any level. But when you knock it in the 5th row, yes, you don't get the ball back. The other team keeps the ball. If you can keep it in the court, which he does exceptionally well, they get live ball turnovers and go with it. So, and he's only a sophomore, so he's going to be special, but a great choice for an unsung hero as well.
No doubt. All right, we're going to wrap up the show by looking at the 2 new coaches in the Sun Belt Conference. Coastal Carolina hires Justin Gray. He'll be the Chanticleer's new head coach after 3 really good seasons at Western Carolina. Won 51 games with the Catamounts, 40 over the last 2 seasons. Back-to-back winning seasons for Western Carolina. First time that had happened in 13 years. They were also 21-15 in the SoCon in the last 2 years. Prior to that, he was on Pat Kelsey's staff for 2 seasons at Winthrop. His playing days, he was 3-time All-ACC at Wake Forest, scored nearly 2,000 points in his career, and so he'll be the follow-up to Cliff Ellis and, of course, interim Benny Moss as he takes over that Coastal program.
Played with Chris Paul in the backcourt, and Chris Paul's still playing in the NBA. But so contacts there. And he knows how to work the portal. He had a young man named Vontarius Woolbright this year who was leading the nation in double-doubles the whole year as a 6'6" point guard. Leading scorer in the Southern Conference, leading rebounder in the Southern Conference as a point guard, and got him out of the portal. So he knows how to recruit. He knows how to work the portal. done a great job at Western Carolina with the Catamounts and has contacts from his ACC days, and I'm sure Chris Paul as well. So that's a good pick for Matt Hogue and the Chanticleers going forward.
Yeah, this other guy I think also has good connections too. I think this will serve Old Dominion well. They hired Mike Jones. Of course, that news broke before the tournament started, but we've never really had a chance to talk about it, so thought we might spend a moment there on that. Former Monarchs player who was all Colonial as a senior. He was a 2-year starter. He scored over 1,100 points in his career with Old Dominion. He actually played for Oliver Purnell when Purnell was the head coach at Old Dominion, and finished with the 6th most three-pointers in program history. Most recently, he had been an assistant at Maryland this season. Prior to that, an assistant to Mike Young at Virginia Tech. And, of course, highly successful 19-year run at DeMatha Catholic. Also had connections with USA Nike basketball, which no doubt those are great connections to have when a big part of your job is recruiting. So he is the new head coach of Old Dominion.
Well, at DeMatha, the great Morgan Wooten was there for many, many, many years, but Mike Jones was so good. They named a court after him at DeMatha, which is saying something. And up there, it's all about the DMV, the Delaware, Maryland, Virginia area, and he knows it well, obviously, being at DeMatha and being at the University of Maryland, my alma mater, just recently. So he's going back home. I'm sure he loves the school because he went there. He's got great memories there. And it's not like he has to resurrect anything. They led the league in attendance. They have a phenomenal arena and great program. They love the Monarchs up there. They just had a tough year last year. And I'm sure he's fired about going back and recreating the stuff they had. And even when he played and when Coach Jones did it as well.
No doubt. They won Conference USA a couple of years ago before they joined the Sun Belt. Last year, their first year in the Sun Belt, they were a number 6 seed. And they got beat in the opening round, but they were close to being a 4 seed. And, this year was just, it went from bad to worse, what bad could happen and more. So good luck to him as he takes over the Old Dominion program. Nate, that's going to wrap up our podcast here for this week. We'll come back next week. And when we convene next week, early next week, we'll know who James Madison's playing, what their seed's going to be, what their path in the NCAA tournament looks like. And we're going to grab another Sun Belt coach if we can and, talk to him about their team and also maybe get a little expertise on James Madison, what they think they might do with them, and also, just the NCAA tournament in general. So we're working on that. Coach, join us next week on the podcast to find out who that will be. And Nate, good job again. Great to work with you in the tournament. And we'll keep talking
we had a ball
as long as they're playing it this year.
If you love March Madness, watch the selection show because it's special moments at every school. And it's just fun to watch. And it just gets even more fired up for the games that follow the following weekend.
It's March, and it's madness.